All right, listen up. Pull up a chair, dim the lights, because what I'm about to tell you isn't going to be pretty. It's not going to be what you hear from those nice coaches, the ones who tell you to be more vulnerable, to feel your feelings, and to wait patiently for a woman to deign to notice your inner beauty. No, we're cutting through the noise today. We're getting down to the bedrock truth of male desire and female standards and why, when you first meet her, all a man really wants is sex. I know. You've been told it's shallow. You've been told it's misogynistic. You've been told it's not real connection. But I'm telling you, those are the lies. Those are the narratives designed to keep you confused, disempowered, and chasing your tail in a dating market that is rigged against your natural masculine imperative. Today, we're tearing down those illusions. We're going to talk about why that primal urge isn't a flaw, but a feature. Why it's not just lust, but a sophisticated, ancient, and brutally efficient assessment mechanism. And why, frankly, the current dating landscape, shaped by both men and women, forces this dynamic. This isn't about shaming anyone. This is about understanding. This is about power. Your power. The power to navigate this insane modern world with your eyes wide open, your standards firm, and your time protected. You ready? Good. Because the truth, my friend, is a weapon, and it's time you learned how to wield it. The painful truth. It's not just lust, it's a test. Let's start with the hard, cold fact. When a man meets a woman, particularly in those initial stages, there's a biological, psychological, and yes, even a societal imperative that drives him towards one thing: sexual intimacy. And if you think that's just a crude, unsophisticated lust that you should be ashamed of, you've missed the entire point. This isn't just about getting off. This is about information. It's about data. It's about a man's ancient operating system running its most critical diagnostic. It's about assessing value, potential, and compatibility in the most direct, unfiltered way possible. Think of it like this: you're an investor. You've got finite resources, time, energy, emotional bandwidth. You're presented with a potential opportunity. Before you sink serious capital into that opportunity, before you even consider a long-term partnership, what's the absolute first thing you want to do? You want to see if the core product works? You want to test the market viability? You want a proof of concept. For a man, in the initial stages of dating, sex is often that proof of concept. It's not the only concept, certainly not for a high-value man looking for something real. But it is the first, and arguably, the most essential litmus test for what kind of dynamic is possible. It tells him everything about her comfort with her own sexuality, her level of openness, her receptivity to his masculine energy, and ultimately her investment potential. And before you even think about calling me a chauvinist, hear me out. Because what I'm about to lay out for you isn't about male superiority, it's about male reality. A reality that too many men are encouraged to deny, to suppress, to apologize for. And that, my friends, is a recipe for a lifetime of frustration and mediocrity. You deserve better. You deserve the truth. Section 1, the evolutionary imperative: why his brain is built this way. Let's go back to basics, all right? Way back. Forget dating apps, forget gender studies, forget all the modern noise for a second. Let's talk about what nature designed you for as a man. Your brain, brother, is not primarily designed for endless emotional processing in the early stages of a courtship. It's designed for efficiency, for clarity, for action. And when it comes to a potential mate, your biology is screaming one fundamental question: is this woman viable? This isn't about cruelty, it's about survival. For millennia, a man's value was directly tied to his ability to provide, protect, and propagate. His resources, his strength, his hunting prowess, his ability to build shelter were the currency. And the ultimate outcome, the propagation of his lineage, depended on his ability to attract a mate and successfully reproduce. Now I hear the whispers. But we're not cavemen anymore. And you're right, we're not. But our operating systems, the deep-seated algorithms that run beneath our conscious thoughts, haven't fundamentally changed in the last few thousand years. They've been layered over with societal norms, cultural expectations, and all sorts of modern complexities. But the core programming is still there. Here's the psychology. When a man encounters an attractive woman, his primitive brain kicks into gear. It's assessing health, fertility cues, and receptivity. And the most direct, unambiguous signal for many of these things, from a biological standpoint, is sexual intimacy. It's a rapid fire way for his ancient brain to gather crucial data points about a potential partner. Is she comfortable with her body? Is she responsive? Does she trust me enough to be vulnerable in this way? These aren't just sexual questions. They're questions about compatibility, intimacy, and the potential for a deeper bond. Consider the analogy of a high performance sports car. When you're looking to buy one, you don't just read reviews and look at pictures, do you? You want to get behind the wheel, you want to feel the engine, test the handling, push it to its limits on the track. You want to see if it performs as advertised. Similarly, for a man, early sexual intimacy is often a test drive. It's not the entire journey, not by a long shot. A truly high value man is looking for a co pilot for life, not just a joyride. But the test drive is a critical, fundamental step in determining if the vehicle even handles well enough for him to consider investing in the long haul. Without that initial assessment, without seeing how the machinery works, how can he know if it's worth the emotional and physical investment? This isn't about devaluing women. This is about understanding the male drive. It's a drive for clarity, for efficiency, for assessing viability. And when a man is continually denied that initial data point, when he's kept in a state of indefinite maybe, his masculine imperative, which is designed for decisive action and resource allocation, starts to disengage. He begins to see the situation as inefficient, resource draining, and ultimately not worth his sustained high level investment. So, when you feel that intense initial pull, that desire for physical intimacy, understand it's not just some base urge. It's your ancient, powerful masculine operating system trying to gather vital intelligence, trying to cut through the noise, trying to figure out if this is a path worth pursuing with all your heart, your time, and your resources. Don't shame it, understand it, and learn to work with it, not against it. Section 2, the assessment mechanism. Why sex is a man's first test of value. All right, let's peel back another layer of this onion. We've talked about the biological imperative. Now let's talk about the practical application of that imperative in the modern dating market. For a man, especially a man who has his shit together, who has options, who values his time and energy, sex isn't just about pleasure. It's a key part of his initial assessment of a woman's overall value, her compatibility, and her genuine interest. This might sound harsh, and frankly, it is harsh, but you need to hear it. Because if you're a man constantly wondering why women pull away after a few dates, or why you end up in the friend zone, or why you feel like you're constantly jumping through hoops, this is a piece of the puzzle you're missing. Here's the deal. Men are by nature direct. We're problem solvers. We seek clarity. Women, bless their hearts, are often more nuanced, more layered, more indirect in their communication, especially early on. And this difference creates a massive communication gap. When a man expresses interest, he's often expressing a holistic interest that includes physical intimacy. For him, a woman's comfort and willingness to explore that intimacy is a massive signal. It signals trust. Does she trust me enough to be vulnerable? Receptivity. Is she receptive to my masculine energy, my advances? Compatibility. Do our physical desires align? Is there chemistry beyond just conversation? Genuine interest? Is she truly attracted to me, or is she just enjoying the attention, the free dinners, the validation? Let's use another analogy, one you'll appreciate. Imagine you're a venture capitalist. You're presented with a pitch for a groundbreaking new company. You hear the mission statement, you see the projections, you meet the charismatic founder. All good. But before you write that multi-million-dollar check, before you even consider bringing this company into your portfolio, what's the first thing you want to see? You want to see the product. You want to see if it actually works. You want to see it in action. You want to see if it delivers on its promises. For a man, when he meets a woman, the pitch is all the initial conversation, the laughter, the shared interests, the emotional connection. All of that is valuable. But the product demonstration, the most tangible proof of concept of genuine connection and compatibility, often involves physical intimacy. It's the ultimate show, don't tell. A man isn't looking for a yes to sex as a conquest. A high-value man is looking for a yes to sex as an indicator of a deeper yes to him, to his masculinity, to his leadership, to his potential as a partner. If a woman is comfortable and enthusiastic about exploring physical intimacy with him, it's a powerful, almost undeniable signal that she is genuinely attracted, engaged, and open to what could develop. Conversely, if he encounters resistance, hesitation, or endless delays, his logical brain, his assessment mechanism starts to flag. It doesn't necessarily mean she's bad or uninterested, but it does mean the initial, crucial data point he's seeking isn't being provided. And when that happens, his interest, his investment, his willingness to dedicate further resources, his time, his emotional energy will naturally wane. Why? Because from his perspective, he's not getting the critical information he needs to justify deeper investment. He's stuck in the pitch meeting, but he's never seeing the product. I know this sounds cold. I know it goes against a lot of the romanticized notions of dating. But we're talking about reality here, brother. We're talking about how men are wired and how they navigate the world. This isn't about being a player. It's about being an efficient, discerning, and ultimately a high-value man who understands his own intrinsic needs and how to assess a potential partner's suitability for a deeper relationship. Understand this mechanism, and you understand why early physical intimacy isn't just a desire, but a fundamental part of a man's screening process for long-term potential. Section 3, the system of blame, how modern dating dynamics punish commitment and reward expedience. Now, let's get into the uncomfortable truth about the system we're all operating within. Because it's easy to point fingers and say, men are just pigs or women are too complicated. But that's a cop-out. The reality is that the modern dating landscape, the cultural narratives, and the reward structures within it have fundamentally shifted in a way that punishes genuine, intentional courtship and rewards superficiality, casual encounters, and emotional detachment. And yes, this dynamic, in a perverse way, often reinforces the male imperative to seek sex early. Here's the intimate scrutiny I promised you. We, as men, feel this urgent need to assess quickly, to get to the point, because the system often forces our hand. It makes us wary, efficient, and sometimes emotionally guarded. Consider the analogy of a high-stakes poker game. In a traditional game, you observe your opponents, you play a few hands, you get a feel for their style, you build a strategy. There's a certain pace, a certain expectation. Now imagine a modern poker game where everyone is constantly bluffing, where the stakes are ridiculously high, where players are swapping tables every 5 minutes, and where the rules seem to change with every hand. In that environment, what's your instinct? It's to play fast, to take calculated risks, to try and get a read on your opponent immediately, and if you don't get one, to fold quickly and move on to the next table. You're trying to conserve your chips, your time, your emotional energy because the game is designed to drain them. Modern dating is that chaotic poker game. The illusion of abundance, dating apps. We live in an era where everyone believes they have endless options. Swiping culture has created a buffet mentality where commitment feels less urgent because there's always another profile just a swipe away. For men, this means women often feel less pressure to commit or even to clearly communicate interest because they perceive a vast pool of suitors. For women, this means men are forced to differentiate themselves quickly or get lost in the noise, the devaluation of effort. Traditional courtship involved effort, time, and visible investment. Dinners, flowers, planned activities, consistent communication. These were signals of genuine interest and commitment. Now, a casual text, a spontaneous Netflix and chill invitation, a low-effort date. These are often the norm. Why? Because the rewards for high effort often don't match the investment. A man who goes all out too soon might be seen as desperate or overinvested, turning a woman off. So men learn to conserve effort until actual commitment is established. The cool girl and casual sex culture. Modern society, in its attempt to liberate women, has also inadvertently created a new pressure point. The cool girl, who is sexually liberated, unattached, and doesn't demand commitment, is often celebrated. This creates a confusing dynamic for men. On one hand, they're told to respect women. On the other, The path to intimacy often seems to be paved by casual encounters where no strings attached is the unspoken rule. This further reinforces the idea that early physical intimacy is the primary and sometimes only way to ascertain interest, and that deeper commitment is something that might or might not follow, almost as an afterthought. I know this sounds harsh, but you deserve the truth, brother. This isn't about blaming women entirely or blaming men. It's about understanding the system. Women have been told they can have it all, and that means they often keep their options open for longer, expecting men to constantly prove their value. Men, in turn, are reacting to this reality. If he has to compete with 1,000 other profiles, if he's constantly being tested, if his emotional vulnerability is often met with disinterest or confusion, then his natural response is to become more efficient in his assessment. He learns that the quickest, most direct path to understanding where he stands, to gauging genuine interest, is through physical intimacy. Because if a woman is willing to open up to him in that way, it's a powerful signal that she's actually interested beyond the superficial. If she's not, or if she's constantly delaying, he learns through repeated painful experience that his best move is often to protect his resources and move on. This isn't male chauvinism. This is a pragmatic, albeit cold, response to a dating market that incentivizes quick assessments and punishes prolonged, unreciprocated investment. Understand this dynamic, and you'll understand why men often seem to only want sex at first. It's not just a desire, it's a learned survival mechanism in a chaotic landscape. Section 4, the honest conversation. It's not her fault, but it's her reality. Now, this is where we need to build some serious rapport because this part is nuanced and it requires empathy, but also unyielding clarity. We've talked about the male imperative and the system that influences it, but we also need to have an honest conversation about her reality and how her decisions, even if driven by societal pressures or past experiences, contribute to this dynamic where men prioritize quick sexual assessment. Let's be unequivocally clear. It's not a woman's fault for having standards or for wanting a man to prove himself. She has every right to choose what's best for her. Her past experiences, societal expectations, and biological programming also play a massive role in how she approaches dating. But here's the rub, and this is the intimate scrutiny part. Many women, perhaps unknowingly, perpetuate a system that ironically encourages men to see them primarily through the lens of sexual availability in the initial stages. Think of it like this. You're trying to buy a house. You've got your budget, your wish list, your criteria. The seller, on the other hand, wants the best price, the most reliable buyer, and might have a host of reasons for being cautious or demanding. Now, if the seller constantly delays showing you the property, keeps hinting at other offers, and makes it incredibly difficult to get a clear sense of the house's true value, what's your reaction? You become wary. You either walk away or you try to find the quickest, most efficient way to assess if this house is even worth your sustained interest. You're not trying to be a bad buyer. You're just reacting to the conditions set by the seller. Here's how this plays out in dating. The slow burn myth. Many women are still operating under the belief that making a man wait for sex somehow increases his value or proves his commitment. The idea is, if he truly cares, he'll be patient. And while patience is a virtue in a committed relationship, in the initial stages, this often backfires with high-value, decisive men. Why? Because it sends mixed signals. If she's engaging, charming, and fun, but consistently defers physical intimacy without clear reasons, a man interprets this as either a lack of genuine attraction or a deliberate game-playing tactic. His assessment mechanism kicks in. Is she genuinely interested or just enjoying the attention without any real intention of reciprocation? The friend zone. Paradox. Women often complain about being friend-zoned by men. But how often do women friend-zone men by enjoying their attention, their emotional support, their resources, dinners, time, favors, without offering sexual reciprocity or clear romantic interest? When a woman constantly draws a boundary around physical intimacy while still accepting a man's time and energy, she is, in essence, training him to see her as a source of platonic companionship or as an emotional ATM rather than a romantic partner. A man, especially one who desires a holistic partnership, will eventually feel devalued and move on. The lack of direct communication. This is a huge one. While men are often criticized for being too direct about sex, women are often praised for being mysterious or hard to get. But in the early stages, this can be incredibly frustrating for a man who is trying to assess her genuine interest. If a woman is attracted but afraid to show it physically or verbally, she's leaving the man guessing. And guessing drains masculine energy. A man needs clarity. If he's not getting it through clear communication of romantic interest or through reciprocal physical intimacy, he will default to the most direct form of assessment he knows, trying to establish physical intimacy. So when a man comes in hot, wanting sex early, it's not always because he's a predatory monster. Often, it's a natural, albeit sometimes clumsy, response to a dating environment where clear signals of interest are scarce, where emotional investment is risky, and where a woman's comfort with intimacy is one of the most unambiguous signals of genuine attraction and potential. It's not her fault for being discerning, but it is her reality that her choices and signals, or lack thereof, significantly influence how men perceive and approach her. If a woman consistently creates an environment where physical intimacy is constantly deferred, shrouded in ambiguity, or used as a reward for prolonged courtship, she is inadvertently encouraging men to either lose interest or to push harder for that initial assessment point. This isn't about blaming. This is about understanding cause and effect. Men are reacting to the signals they receive, and if the clearest, most unambiguous signal of romantic interest and comfort in a potential partner is often sexual, then naturally that will become a primary driver in their initial interactions. For men seeking something real, it's not about just getting laid. It's about seeking that profound, unambiguous signal that says, yes, I am open to you, to us, to this connection in all its forms. All right, you've heard the brutal truth. You understand the evolutionary imperative, the assessment mechanism, and the fucked up system that often forces men to prioritize an early read on sexual compatibility. So, what do you do with this information, my friend? Do you become a cynical bastard? Do you throw your hands up and say dating is impossible? No, absolutely not. You become empowered. You become strategic. You become a high value man who understands the game and therefore knows how to play it to win for yourself and for the kind of relationship you truly desire. Here's your power move. This is what you must do. Embrace your masculine drive. Don't apologize for it. Your desire for early intimacy is not a flaw. It's a natural, healthy part of who you are as a man. Stop letting society shame you for it. Understand it as an assessment mechanism. It's telling you something vital. The key isn't to suppress it, but to channel it intelligently. Acknowledge that the chemistry, the physical spark, is a fundamental component of attraction for you. Don't pretend it isn't. Set your non negotiable standards and stick to them. If you are a man who desires a committed, passionate, and deeply intimate relationship, then your standards must reflect that. This means clarity of intent. Don't beat around the bush. Communicate your intentions, subtly at first, then more directly as you get to know someone. You're looking for a partner, not a pen pal. Reciprocity. You are looking for a woman who is enthusiastic and eager to meet you halfway, emotionally, intellectually, and physically. If she's constantly making you jump through hoops, delaying or playing games, that's a clear signal she's not the right fit for your level of intentionality. Time value. Your time is your most precious, non renewable resource. Protect it fiercely. If after a few dates, let's say 2 to 3 max, there's no clear signal of genuine romantic and physical interest, if the physical intimacy isn't progressing naturally and enthusiastically, then you need to be prepared to walk away from confusion and ambiguity swiftly. This is the hardest part for many men, especially those who are people pleasers or who have a scarcity mindset. But high value men do not tolerate ambiguity. Confusion is a signal, and that signal is almost always she's not that into you or not into you enough for your standards. If she's sending mixed signals, if she's hot and cold, if she's happy to get attention but unwilling to reciprocate physically or emotionally, if she makes you feel like you have to earn basic respect or connection, walk away. Not angrily, not with resentment, just calmly, decisively, and with an unshakable belief in your own value. Your silence and your absence will speak volumes. Invest your resources only where there is clear reciprocal engagement. Until a woman has shown clear, enthusiastic, and reciprocal romantic and physical interest, consider your time, energy, and emotional investment as speculative. You are not her emotional support animal. You are not her therapist. You are not her validation machine. You are a man seeking a partner who meets him at his level with enthusiasm and genuine desire. The moment you feel you are giving more than you are receiving, especially in those critical early stages, you reassess. Build a life that is so compelling you don't need anyone. This is the ultimate power move. Focus on your mission, your purpose, your physical health, your financial freedom, your friendships. Build a life that is so rich and fulfilling that a woman becomes an addition to it, not the source of it. When you operate from a place of abundance and self sufficiency, you radiate a different energy. You become magnetic, you become discerning, and you become utterly unattractive to women who are only looking for a resource to extract from or an ego boost. Remember this, gentlemen. Your masculine drive is powerful. It seeks clarity, it seeks purpose, it seeks connection, but it seeks it on its own terms, or terms that are mutually respectful and clear. When you understand why you feel what you feel, and when you understand the landscape you're navigating, you stop being a victim of circumstance and become the architect of your own dating destiny. It's time to stop chasing, it's time to start attracting, it's time to demand clarity, and it's time to protect your valuable resources and your time, your energy, and your heart for a woman who genuinely appreciates and reciprocates them. This journey is yours. Own it. If this resonated with you, if this smacked you awake, then you know what to do. 1. Hit that subscribe button. This channel is where we talk about the real truth, the inconvenient truth, the truth that empowers men. You don't want to miss what's coming next. 2. Share this video with every brother you know who needs to hear this. Who's stuck in the loop? Who's confused? Who needs a kick in the ass and a dose of reality? 3rd, comment below. What's your biggest takeaway from this? What's one specific thing you're going to change in your approach to dating starting today? Let's build a community of empowered, honest, high-value men. Until next time, gentlemen, stay strong, stay clear, and never, ever settle for less than you deserve.